was that once we had set our mind on the upper fur in 2005, in 2006, early 2006, we had also done an internal scoping study, and we said, this is our goal, to mine the upper fur. So then we contracted out to a company called Gartner Lee Limited. We contracted them out to start collecting the environmental baseline data in July 2006 over an expanded area of where we expect the upper fur mine to be. So they have collected that data for 4 years right now. So we may be seen as being ahead of the curve on that aspect.
That sounds good. That sounds good, yeah. Chris, would you just excuse me? Darn, I forgot my coffee, you know. I should have brought the little bucket here. Just fill my cup with coffee.
Sure.
Sorry, Chris.
No apology necessary, Glenn.
I'm at home, as I'm sure you can see. So you know, I have it's a bit of distance from here to my kitchen.
Yeah. No apologies necessary.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. That's good. Now, obviously, I've been trying to. I told you this when we spoke, a couple of months ago. I told you back then that I was trying to look at the demand and supply situation for tantalum specifically. Now, really, that's Swedish tobacco, by the way.
Yeah, I wondered. Skål.
It's called wet tobacco. It's very good.
Yeah.
Now, as we spoke about back then, it's very hard to find reliable information. And I remember we spoke about this. There seem to be at least a couple of options where you have to pay something like $3,000 or $4,000 to get this information. And you told me that you had heard of this guy and you had been in touch with him, basically. So this is a very difficult situation. I have, however, gotten a bit of input to this, and some of it is very critical. And I'll tell you why. I had some correspondence with a guy called, his name is Mickey Falk. He's rather well known as a newsletter writer. The mercenary geologist, I believe he calls himself. Now, he had recently, as you may have seen or heard, he had an interview on, somewhere on the net. I'm sure you've heard about this. And he was quite, he didn't mention Commerce by name, but he mentioned you with everything but the name, actually. And he said, it's a low-grade deposit, and they're going to have problems because 3 of the largest tantalum mines in the world was closed because the price was, demand was waning, basically, in the beginning of the financial crash. So he said, the first thing that's going to happen if demand picks up is that these mines will obviously be reopened. And then also I found some information about China. They've opened their own tantalum mine in 2010. And when so do you see the information I got from you is somewhat different than the one that I just gave you, right?
I'm going to say that in my mind, it is never good to be overly critical. It's always good to speak the truth as much as anyone may know it. I would like to encourage you and all of your subscribers to understand that we have been working on this project for over 10 years, that we have been members of the International Tantalum and Niobium Association since 2001. And part of what is difficult for anyone, any independent, objective analyst or geologist to understand, is really the intricacies of the tantalum market unless they've been present and have been a member of the International Tantalum Association. Now, if that sounds like an old boys club, you're correct. It is absolutely an old boys club. Now, one of the things, so I would suggest to you that we know absolutely what we are talking about, and let me also add that the former president of the world's largest refractory metals processing company, H.C. Stark, out of Goslar, Germany, the former president of that company is our chairman of the board. So, you know, let me just say, who would you rather believe? The former president of the billion-dollar H.C. Stark Corporation, who is now our chairman of the board, or would you like to believe a guy who presents himself? Well, anyways, I think you should trust our information. The other side of it,
my intention was not, you know, to create some kind of. I'm just trying to find out. You know, there are a bit of different opinions here. That's all, obviously, and it is difficult. I'm not telling you necessarily that this guy is correct and that you guys are wrong, or the other way around. It is difficult, but you have to admit that this information that I got from him is very different from your estimation, the one that you gave me a couple of months ago, and of course that makes you wonder, how can it be that and maybe you should also, you told me on the phone a very lengthy, thank you very much for the explanation about the war minerals over in Congo, in the Republic of Congo. And maybe you should explain that situation. Just, you don't have to be that lengthy, but I think it would be a good thing to, if you could explain that and what that means.
Oh, okay, sure, but let's deal with these issues about the conflicting information first, and I'll try to be as brief as possible, and then we'll talk about conflict minerals.
Fine.
So one of the things that was said about Commerce Resources deposit is that it is low grade. Now, what that really should indicate to you is that the person who said that doesn't understand geologically the two main differences between the ore types. Now, the historic deposits that he was accurate in saying had shut down, those were all pegmatite deposits. Now, the pegmatite deposits have the very easy and attractive optics of higher grades. That is correct. But what you only have to do to scratch the surface, and any geologist and any analyst should know this, is that you have to also understand what the recovery rate is for the project. So the pegmatite deposits that did close down, and the largest one is the former Sons of Gwalia, which I believe I already mentioned, but they operate under the name of Talison Minerals. They are, and I'll speak about their historical high grade, which was 300 grams per ton, but with a 50% recovery rate. So they would recover only 150 grams of tantalum per ton. Now you take a look at a different host rock, which is a carbonatite, and and our deposit is a carbonatite. Our grade is around 217 grams per ton. You contrast that with the pegmatite in Australia, which is 300 grams, and you could think simple-mindedly that our grade is not high enough. However, all you have to do is read our 43101, our new project technical report from Caracal Creek International, which puts our recovery rate at 86%. Well, 86% of 200 grams per ton recovers you what at the end of the day? 86% of 200 grams works out to be what, 192 grams of tantalum, and so the world's richest former producer would have recovered 150 grams. Who is the richer deposit? Clearly, Commerce Resources is richer. So it's a very it's a not informed comment to make about a carbonatite deposit having a lower grade and therefore not being economic. It does not make sense. Our deposit actually recovers more tantalum per ton than the world's richest tantalum deposit, which is the one that was in operation since 1985 in Australia. Now, the reasons it shut down was not because demand went down per se. It was because they very clearly and very publicly needed to double the price of tantalum. Now, It is right that the tantalum demand was down a little, but that